All right, ready to rock the fire?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, welcome to another episode of Gary Williams Stole My Lawn Furniture. I have Brooks' old college coach on, so we get to talk a lot of smack about Brooks today, which is absolutely fantastic. Jon Shehan, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Brian.
Go ahead, give a little background on yourself before we get going.
Yeah, I've been coaching at Millersville for 17 years. Played a couple years in the Braves minor league system. Wasn't very good. I was a backup catcher and called on Sundays and holidays, and played at Lampeter Strasburg High School, which is real close to Millersville here. So that's about the end of it. I'm a baseball guy, pretty much. And Coach Brooks back in 2000, was it 9, 10, and 11?
10, 11, 12. I
10, 11,
transferred
12.
in sophomore year. Yeah.
10, 11, 12. So Brooks was on our 2011 College World Series team. So that was a #1 starter and pitched against Mount Olive and faced a future big leaguer in that game. So that was a lot of fun back in the day.
Still lost.
Yeah, we did lose. But
when we had Tim Maza on, pitcher from the Toronto Blue Jays, we gave some rapid fire questions. I'm going to give you some of the same ones.
All right.
Favorite form of potato?
Purple.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm a gardener. I got some purple potatoes going in the garden right now. So big purple potato guy.
Great response.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite chain restaurant that does not have a drive-through?
Favorite chain restaurant that doesn't have a drive-through?
God, there's so freaking many we went to on the road.
Oh, man.
So, for example, like mine would be Texas Roadhouse.
Texas Roadhouse is a solid pick.
Solid.
Man. Rapid fire. I'm not doing very good off the start here. Chipotle.
It's not going to be Haas's.
All right, Chipotle. I think Chipotle was actually Maza's as well.
Yeah.
And then favorite ball player growing up?
Favorite ballpark growing up?
Ball player.
Ball player. Barry Bonds. And not always the nicest dude, but man, he was a pleasure to watch.
He's good. I met John Smoltz tells a story one time. He's talking to Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux, notorious for being funny but dry.
Right.
He said, "How do you think I should pitch him?" He goes, "I just hammer him up and in." He says, John Smoltz got his first pitch I threw it under his armpits. He had 475 feet. So how'd it go?
70 other guys had the same issue, but man, yeah, he was special. Just cartoon numbers. Just
yeah, that one season where I think he walked, he had more intentional walks than I think the league.
Right,
it was stupid.
I saw him. So when I was in the minor leagues, we went down. We picked up a game. I was on my way from the Gulf Coast League to Rome, Georgia, from rookie ball to A ball, and we called the big league clubby. He's got his number from the clubby in the Gulf Coast League, and he said, "Yeah, we'll get you tickets." There's 3 or 4 of us that got promoted, and we're on our way up there and hit up Atlanta on the way. And Russ Ortiz started that night, and Bonds hit 3 homers, and it was one of the coolest things I've seen in my life. So, yeah.
I mean, how is he not in the Hall of Fame, dude? It's unbelievable. How do you tell the story about baseball without telling the greatest hitter of all time? Well, Barry Bonds, I think, is now, and the second best, one of the top hitters of all time, in Pete Rose. But it bothers me a little bit.
And you guys could disagree with me with this statement, but I think the best thing that will happen to Barry Bonds, the best thing that I think happened to Pete Rose, is that they're not in the Hall of Fame because you bring them up every single year.
True, I guess so.
They never go away. But
yeah, they're always going to be
a debate every year.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, though, they're still mentioned as the best bat the ball guy in the game and the best overall player to ever play the game. So I mean, I still think they get the honor of that, but yeah, it is pretty bad they're not in the Hall of Fame. I'm torn on it, to be honest. Break rules, but I mean, I think the game's changed significantly, especially during that era that Bonds was in. The game allowed for steroid use.
Yeah. I mean, Donald Fear and that union screwed the players.
For sure.
And My favorite baseball player of all time. See, I'm a purist. My favorite baseball player of all time is Tony Gwynn. Even though I'm a Baltimore Oriole fan, and he was, he did everything the right way, and phenomenal mustache. Let's get that out.
I did not think we were going to go into this right, like at all in this conversation, but I just don't understand how, like, if you've played baseball before, you know that Barry Bonds is the best hitter and or best all around player of all time. Like it's pretty unanimous. Like everybody in any kind of baseball circle that's played the game it's going to be a hard debate.
The strike zone discipline at a point when the zone was actually much wider.
Yeah.
I mean, the ability to draw walks at that time, you brought up Greg Maddux, Brian. There are times that Maddux and Glavine are getting pitches 6 inches off the plate at the big league level, and those guys are, plus command guys. And I'd make the argument on the other side that Bonds would probably thrive and maybe hit more home runs in today's environment, whereas a guy like Maddux and Glavine will probably struggle because they got to be on the plate. And
I agree with you. You're more strict to where you have to be now inside of a box, and then you can't sit there and keep inching away and seeing like let's keep playing how far we're going to go here.
Without a doubt, and especially with the higher velocity now, with his velos, I mean, he would hit the ball 10, 20 feet further than what he was hitting.
Yeah, he may have struck out more, but we were down in Texas to open up our season this year, and we played with the ABS system, which is the ball strike system that you can appeal, and it's pretty accurate. I mean, within like a quarter of an inch, and it's a TrackMan or Hawkeye. Sorry, I don't use TrackMan at the big league level, but Hawkeye projects the strike zone up onto the screen at the stadium, and you have to immediately tap the top of your head, catcher, pitcher, hitter to appeal the strike call. And what it did was shrink the zone even more. And we found out we had AA, AAA umpires. Like these were guys that they wanted to try the system out on. They were the highest rated AA, AAA guys. But they're graded out worse if they call a ball a strike than they are if they call a strike a ball. So what happens is the zone is just, a postage stamp. And it was crazy at the college level. We have a kid right now that he was All-American last year. He just pounds the strike zone, super command guy, but he walked 8 guys. Like if the pitch is a half inch off the plate, it's a ball. So at our level, if it's 6 inches off the plate, you usually, it's the old 1990s strike zone where you're still getting the pitch in between the batter's box and the plate, and it's just not happening at the major league level now. And it would change the game dramatically at the college level if guys actually had to call the plate. I mean, I think you see the offenses get way better, and a guy like Bonds would just destroy the league with that.
Yeah, you actually have to have it forces you to have better stuff too. I mean, there's just no other way around it. Especially like I couldn't pitch in that for sure. But one of the things I wanted to, well, now that you brought up the ABS stuff, is I guess 2 questions really. Is the box the same for every single hitter? Is it moving with the height of the hitter? Or are they just basically doing knees to letters now? And I guess the second question is, what are your actual thoughts on this? Do you want it in the major leagues? Because this is essentially taking away one of the major jobs of a catcher in receiving balls and framing balls.
So honestly, I kind of forget where the top and the bottom were.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think it had to do with the percentage of height, not so much the actual knee position, because I'm not sure that the system could actually pick up the knee, but I actually like the way they did it. You get 3 chances to appeal a pitch, so it's very similar to the appeal process right now with tag plays and things that we're seeing already at the big league level. But with the strike zone, though, if you lose it, you lose it, and you don't get to use it again. But you continue to get to use it if you win them. So same thing at the big league level. There's still receiving involved for the entire game, except for those 3 pitches that you can appeal. And strategically, you got full countdown third base, less than 2 outs. You need a strikeout, and the pitches, you think it's on the plate. I mean, the catcher can go to it right away and appeal it and get that pitch. Our catcher was 5 out of 6. In appeals won that weekend. So that was pretty cool. The top and the bottom are definitely the hardest for the umpires. There's no question about it. And then there's still some. They claim that there's a 1/4 inch. Umpires are going to tell you that it's not as good. That they think it's worse off than a 1/4 inch, but Hawkeye's pretty good. If you're looking at, you can look at baseballsavant.com and see all the pitches in there, and it's pretty accurate. So I like it. I'm a catcher, so
that's why I wanted your opinion on this. So, and I think what I was thinking, because the minor leagues right now is doing half the week is the ABS where you challenge, and then half the week is full, basically computer. They get something in the ear saying strike or ball, then the umpire makes the call, which is BS in my mind. So that's why I like the fact that I like the fact that the game of framing and receiving is still there, and you can still have that instead of taking away that entire tool from a pitcher or a catcher.
I love the fact too that it has to be immediate. Like if somebody signals anything from the dugout, they're not going to allow the appeal to happen. So it's not like, we're looking at a tag play on a screen. Oh, I think you should appeal that one. It's literally the catcher going, nope, that was in the strike zone, or the pitcher, the hitter can appeal it as well. So, but it has to be an immediate thing. The game's built around, like, why do you play 162 games? It's because you get bad hops, you get bad calls, you get things out of your control that happen all the time. So, I think the more that we want to perfect the way that calls are made, and, we're playing on better fields than we ever have, you're going to get less bad bounces. I mean, it just takes away from the beauty of the game, which is the inexactness and sometimes the unfair things that happen. And, it's more like life from that aspect than any other sport. You make a screw up on Tuesday, and Wednesday you get to play again, and that's really the beauty of it. It's winning over 162 games, and even winning in a series. Like I think the playoff system, not to dive into that, is just so geared toward making money, but not finding out who the best team was during the year. And there's a lot of randomness that happens in the playoffs, even at our level. It's really tough to win year in and year out in the postseason.
Yeah. It's a game of failure. You fail 7 out of 10 times. And so, I mean, it's inexact science. And so I'm glad that because I was actually going to ask you the question, like, how do you coach this to your players? Do they look in the dugout to see if you want to make this, tap call or whatever? You give them the autonomy. They have to have the autonomy to do it.
They have to. Yeah, we told our pitchers they weren't allowed to do it. It was a catcher only, the hitter only, and it had to be in a big spot. So, use some feel with the position that you're in. And like I said, we won 5 out of 6 that weekend. It's never going to happen at our level, just because teams, we were fortunate enough to play down at Minute Maid Park the opening weekend, and MLB wanted to try out the system before they rolled it into the minor leagues. But we just don't have the money to put in, even TrackMan, let alone Hawkeye. So that'd be an enormous investment. So.
Yeah. As someone who knows how much those TrackMans cost, they're expensive.
Just on the golf side.
Yeah.
I want to get into if it's okay with you, Brooks. I want to get into analytics. How you feel about Jon? How do you use them? Do you enjoy them? Are you against them? I guess just kind of, it's not really a question, just more of like a let you go rant. What are your thoughts on analytics?
Yeah, and just to give a shout out, Jon has created an app full of a lot of analytics for hitters called the Hitting Approach. That, what did you say, like 55 college teams are using right now?
Yeah, we've got everything from Alabama softball is using it in the SEC all the way down to, we've got some high schools in Iowa, and but we've literally tapped into every level. So all the way from Power 5 schools down to 12U and travel ball at times. So it's been a cool little side project. But the analytics side, and Brooks, we're going to change the name this summer. You got a little sneak preview. We're changing it to Approach Analytics because we flipped it, and now we've got pitching and hitting. So we basically said we're collecting all this data on pitchers for our hitters, and we might as well collect the data for pitchers on opposing hitters and build scouting reports and all that good stuff. So I think that's one of the biggest things that's changed at our level of amateur baseball is that when I was coaching Brooks, we didn't have scouting reports. I mean, the game was played on the field, and we did the best we could to prepare our own players, and we literally just try to ignore the opponent all week because there really wasn't anything. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely all feel. And now, really since COVID, because everybody started streaming their games at every level. Game Changers changed that. All the conferences at the lower levels, D1, D2, D3, and the mid-major schools, everybody's streaming games now, and almost everyone's sharing games. So you could sign on to our conference website and look up any game that we've played in the last 5 years, and you're going to find a multi-view game that you can watch specifically from behind the pitchers now, just like you would watching an MLB game on TV. So with that, you can start charting pitches and gathering data on the opposition, and that's where we built this app. Was like, okay, we've got video now. We want to know pitch location, pitch type, and result, and we added in things that aren't even being tracked at the big league level, like foul balls, like foul ball type. Why? We want to see vertical accuracy now, like are barrels being missed under or barrels being missed over with certain pitches? Are guys early or late with their body timing? So when you put the whole picture together, I think it's changed the game for the good. Teams that are willing to prepare more are going to be more successful. And we've definitely tapped into that the last 4 or 5 years here. I think it's also helped us get outside of the box and not just look at mechanics during practice, but dive into decision making as hitters and pitchers with pitch calling. Sometimes you feel like you made a good pitch, but now you can go back and look at the video and the data and compare it. And sequencing for pitchers is a huge thing. Drive line out in Seattle, they'll tell you that effective velocity, like basically pitching in after you throw a breaking ball away, is not scientifically proven. But I would argue that as a hitter and the data that we've collected, if you pitch in after you throw a breaking ball away, you're going to be more successful with a guy being late. So it's been a cool little venture. And to answer your question, Brian, I love the analytics side. I think it's opened up a whole nother avenue for baseball. And we've come a long way from the 80s when it was chop balls on turf stadiums and run as fast as we can. So
I don't want to sound like I'm an analytics hater, because I'm not. But do you feel like there might be too much information being provided? Can that jumble the memory or jumble the brain that the kids think they're overthinking?
I think we're careful with it, at least in our program, to only provide things that we feel like our players need. But I think it's definitely helped us in terms of, hey man, this guy's fastball kind of hops. It's gonna ride a little bit. Like, you need to see above it. You need to literally try and swing and miss above the fastball today. Whether the hitter actually adjusts, that's something that's something we've been struggling with the last couple of weekends here. But I think it's definitely a coaching piece to whether you give out too much information or don't give the kids enough. And then some guys on the team are a lot simpler than others. I mean, if you gave McCormick a whole bunch of data, he'd probably not want to see it. Whereas we have a kid, Brent Taylor, last year that would literally know if the guy doubled up or tripled up on breaking balls, and he'd be sitting on pitches based on the data. So and he was pretty doggone good at it. So
that's one of those things that's like a mental thing too. It was like back when we were playing, like when like stealing signs, right? As some people, like if you had their signs and you were calling pitchers or whatever, some people wanted it, some people didn't. Some people felt like it messed them up. So
right.
I mean, I'm sure that's just a mental warfare you got to figure out for each player.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, are there kids who don't want it? Like, just say, leave me alone, I just want to do the field.
Yes, but I think there are times where, for us, it's all what you want to give a kid. So, we pull a guy in and be like, hey, your strength here is hitting the ball hard the opposite field. Here's the data that proves it. And now you're taking too many pitches on the outer half, and here's the data to prove that. And that's pretty simple. Swing more on the outer half of the plate, right? So I still think there's pieces that you can give guys that's not like, here's the whole book on you. I want you to dive in and, so it can be overcomplicated. I think sometimes as coaches we overcomplicated it, when we're looking at scouting reports, and sometimes it is more important to go out and focus on your own team and executing pitches over, pitcher strength over hitter's weakness, so to speak. But I think overall it's definitely made the game better.
Yeah, I would say like Coach said, like back when I was playing, we didn't have any scouting reports at Millersville. We had them at Mount St. Mary's. But I mean, to be quite honest with you, they were dog shit, and not always very correct. So, I mean, that would have been super useful for me in a lot of situations, to be honest with you. I just don't see a world where you can't sit there and say, like, there's been scouting reports for a very long time in the major leagues, and they've used them and been so successful. And then we so a lot of these old school people want to push away a lot of these analytics, and it's like I get to a certain extent, but I mean, a lot of this stuff it's good to try to figure out if you're struggling somewhere, at least you got somewhere you can look. You have an opportunity to figure out what's going wrong.
It's why we started tracking like approach stuff in terms of like, what's your plan going into a bat? And some guys are super simple with their plan. Some guys are super complicated with their plan. But when you track it over a 3-year period and you start looking at guys that, go up to the plate and they're in a 2-week slump, sometimes it's not mechanics, it's not decision making. Sometimes it's just approach in terms of how they feel. So it's just been measuring everything is a positive, but what you give back to the player, that's still the art form of coaching. So we had a kid literally like be early was in his plan a couple years ago, and it made all the difference. And he wasn't even necessarily late, but he needed the feel of like being really early with his knee lift at the plate. So, but that's still a form of analytics. I mean, you're taking the data and accumulating the data and then sifting through the data to find the right answer to help the kid hit.
I mean, I coached a kid, and he said, I feel like we're getting so much information. I feel like we just need, because we have the information, we feel the need to use it. He goes, I don't want to use it. Okay.
It's fair.
That's fine. And let you do you. And he said, all I want to do is I'm going to say to myself every single time I get to the plate, stay back, stay back, stay back, stay back. That was his form of analytics. It was just him talking to himself.
Sure.
Yeah, a lot of that's like keep it simple while it's working, but then once if you start struggling for a while, you have it there as a resource to be like, all right, now I need to look at it and see like for me, like some stupid stuff that I would go through my head when I was starting to get a little wild is like, all right, let's stay back as long as we can while like in our wind up or something stupid, or stay closed for as long as you can on this pitch or whatever, because I'm leaking one way or the other.
Right.
Just simple was always better for me, but it definitely would have been nice to like see what like spin rates were, see like the shapes of my pitches, how I can mess with it a little bit. Really wish I had some of the throwing programs and lifting stuff that these kids have now, just to be able to use. I mean, a lot of our stuff was very basic back then, so I'm a little jealous, to be honest with you.
The game has changed, infinitely in the past 15 years. And that's one thing with our program. Like we have a value of make it better. I think it's actually become dangerous. It's like we could continue to find new things every single day. I mean, it's insane the amount of information. And in many ways, I mean, not to jump into this other hot topic, but in many ways, I mean, the velo stuff we've learned how to get guys to throw harder, throw nastier breaking balls. But the health side of it just hasn't caught up to the guys willing to tinker with arm actions and weight programs and long toss programs and velo programs and weighted balls and plyo balls, and the list goes on there. But
this is a good topic to get into.
It's crazy.
This is what we were actually talking about this, and you're fitting in perfect, by the way, because you're reading both Brooks and I's mind, because I think we were both going to bring this up. I mean, you're seeing these guys now max effort, and that's don't bullshit me and tell me 2 seconds off a pitch clock is making your elbow hurt more. It's because you're throwing as hard as you possibly can, as much as you possibly can.
You're seeing a generation of guys getting into the big leagues now that have literally grown up in this perfect game environment, that velo and spin are such a big piece of signing a contract. So when Brooks was playing at Millersville, Tim Mays is 88 to 90, and he's got 20 scouts coming to see him pitch. And he'd touch a 92, 93, maybe even a 94, but he didn't pitch there. And he still got drafted. Yes, he's left-handed, but he still got drafted. We've got literally we started the year with 18 arms. I think we only have 4 lefties, and every single one of our right-handed pitchers has at least bumped 90. We have a kid that's touched 98. We have 2 kids that have touched 5 or 6. Don't sit there, but I mean, those kids are easy draft picks, even if they're 92 to 93 and don't throw enough strikes. In 2008-9, they're getting picked in the 35th, to 40th round.
See if we can figure it out.
Yeah, just based on velo. Now it's like, if you don't throw 95 and throw strikes, you're not going to get picked. And it's
nuts.
it's mind-boggling. So
That's
Tim
crazy.
Mesa doesn't get picked. McCormick probably doesn't get picked as a position player with the 20-round draft. You're in a whole different world, and kids know that. I mean, the dreams haven't changed to these kids, and they know that 95 is the new 90. So they're going to do everything they possibly can to get there, and I mean, it's a shame in some ways, but in other ways, you can take a kid like we have this kid named Zach Tukas right now, and he got cut as a freshman at Cumberland Valley. And
Forrest was telling me about this kid.
Yeah, so
I tried my damnedest to find whoever the head coach was there, or like some Twitter handle for that baseball team, or the athletic department, and say this coach should be fucking fired.
It's unreal. I mean, he literally was cut his freshman year, sophomore and junior year. He went to a place called Full Reps Training Center, which is actually where Mesa trains in the off season. And getting into facilities a little bit, I don't know that guys are gonna go into a facility having not be a good, like, you're not a good pitcher, aka Greg Maddox pitcher, and then come out of there and be a better pitcher, because the task is different. The task in those facilities is to throw hard and spin it hard, spin it harder and faster, and
maxing out potential.
Correct. Yeah. But you don't really have a hitter to say, hey, I got this guy out or not. But what you do get is a Zach Tukas coming out of a facility like that, who's throwing 95 miles an hour after he got cut in high school. Goes into his senior year, COVID happens, doesn't get to pitch, and he ends up at Millersville with literally 0 innings in his high school career. And he's 6'6", didn't pitch a lot for us the last couple of years, but he's recently found the zone enough to be a weekend guy for us. And
so he's got to learn. So he had to literally learn how to pitch. Like, he had
correct.
no idea. He just knows.
No idea.
He just knew, I'm going to get on the mound and throw all these pitches as nasty as I can.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's like sliders at 86, and cutters at 91, and then he'll run fastballs up to, 95, 96 every game. And it's arms and legs, 6'6", just probably the most uncomfortable at bat you're ever going to have as a right-handed hitter at our level. So
when you're out recruiting, and maybe it might be a loaded question, right? Have multiple answers to this. Do you want to see guys who play multiple sports? Do you want to see guys who are focused specifically on baseball? What are you looking for here?
So if you had 2 guys and one played quarterback or point guard, and was a shortstop, and the other one was just a shortstop, and they're equal, I'm taking the guy that was the point guard quarterback. But if we find a shortstop that's really good that isn't a point guard or a quarterback, doesn't mean I'm not going to sign him either, if that makes sense. But I think it's definitely a plus, specifically in certain sports. And I got nothing against soccer, but I think it's different when you're on a free throw line with the student section yelling at you in high school. And I think playing quarterback, there's just a whole different level of toughness and a whole different level of communication skills and leadership that come with that. Golf is very similar to baseball in terms of you're playing against yourself. It's one stroke at a time. You're going to suck at times, and you're going to hit balls into the trees, and you got to figure out how to get back. And baseball is very much like that. I mean, the guy that gives up a dinger in the first inning is, and can't bounce back after that's going to have a long day. But the guy that can, give up a solo shot in the first and cruise the rest of the game is the guy we're looking for.
You're looking at some sort of adversity coming at you.
For sure. But I think multiple sport kids are obviously, there's less and less of them, and sometimes you got to go to Western PA or Western Maryland to find them, because some of these schools are just so big, and kids are just so locked in on the sport that they're playing all year round. And that goes back to the injury piece that we were talking about earlier with arms. I mean, these kids are just not taking enough time to do other things. So love multiple sport kids.
Cool.
Yeah, like with the injury thing, like in max effort guys, like you said, Mesa wasn't he wasn't max effort at all. Like, he could run it up as far as he wanted to when he needed to. But I mean, for example, like when I transferred, I threw harder when I transferred in than my most successful year there. I mean, that was a product of injury probably, but yeah, I mean, it just teaches you how to pitch a little bit more and use your velo. And I couldn't there's no way I could get through 7 innings being a max effort guy. There's just, my arm would not hold up. There's no freaking way. So
You know,
I don't, and they're sitting here saying like, oh, the 2 seconds is making all the difference. No, it's not, because
No.
everybody before the pitch clock, everybody who used to play behind you as a pitcher would love playing behind the guy that pitched fast because it keeps you engaged in the game.
Yep.
I never had a problem with my arm hurting because I was 20 seconds in between each pitch or whatever it is. I mean, and my arm hurt all the time. I mean, it wasn't because of that. It wasn't because of that. It wasn't because of that. That's for sure. Honestly, I feel like if I took too much time in between pitches, then you start thinking too much, and then you get inside your own head. I don't know why that was the whole thing to begin with, but
my arm
when I was in between
great.
the lines, I wanted some guy pitching that was pitching like he was fucking double parked. You know,
Right.
I wanted him to get the ball and go, get and go, because he's sitting around kicking dirt and spitting. You know, like let's go, let's rock and fire.
It's a slow game to begin with, but I mean, my arm feels really good, and I throw 40 to 42 mile an hour batting practice, and I can throw all day long every day. And I've never had an arm injury, right? I mean, and honestly, like if you want to keep guys safe, they can't throw hard. I was listening to Smoltz the other day talking, and he's saying how, oh well, teams need to get away from signing guys that throw hard, but I mean, that's never going to happen, John.
No.
Like it's never going to happen. There's too much value in swing and misses analytically. That's really what's changed the game, is that you go back to those analytics and see the value of swing and miss, and you can get a lot of swing and misses, and even if the walks go up, you're going to keep the ball in the ballpark and keep the ball out of the fielder's gloves. And analytically speaking, more swings and misses you get, the more control you have over a ball game. So that's really the basis of it, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. But I would love to see MLB actually take some money and invest it into research rather than, we're gonna find a way to fix the game with the pitch clock. Well, why don't we fix the game by figuring out how to keep these kids on the mound longer and keep them healthy? And I think if we spend the money, and it's not cancer, don't get me wrong, but it is a big issue with kids, and it's a big issue with the game. But I'm not really sure, why Rob Manfred isn't spending the money and taking the time to do it. I'm suspecting that teams are individually doing it because it's such a huge, huge piece to the pie from a winning aspect.
It's their investment.
For
right?
sure. Pitching is the highest invested position in sports. So they spend more money on pitching than any other position, any other sport in the world. And you would think they would want to spend more money on figuring out how to keep those guys on the bump longer.
Well, Fred just calls the World Series trophy a piece of metal, so he doesn't give a shit at all.
We were maybe like 4 or 5 podcasts ago. We were talking about how Rob Manfred has to be so happy that Jay Monahan from PGA Tour looks like an absolute asshole right now, because it takes all the light off of Rob Manfred.
It does. I don't know if the pitch clock's been a bad thing for baseball, but
I think it's been great. I think it's
right.
phenomenal success.
I don't disagree, but there have been other things that Rob has done to drastically change the game. And I understand the minor league deal where guys aren't getting paid, but I'll tell you what, I would go back to the minor leagues as a 22-year-old and make $850 a month all over again. I would rather get the opportunity to do it than cut the draft in half and minimize the amount of guys that get a chance. And they're just going to miss out on great stories. It's the only sport that you see that kind of thing happen, where a guy goes, Mike Piazza 62nd round to Hall of Famer. And it's just not going to happen anymore. It's really going to hurt baseball at our level more than anything else, I think. And I know that sounds like a biased answer, but it's
going to be indie ball guys. It's going to end up being indie ball guys getting signed, and
Or look at all these Dominican, these South American camps that are being developed now. It's becoming like soccer.
Yeah, we've got a local kid here that committed to the White Sox as a 14-year-old. He committed to him. His dad's Dominican. Great dude, great family. And you can't blame the kid, but his dad is Dominican, and they flew down to the DR a couple of months ago and worked at a couple, facilities, and basically the facility I guess they get a cut of it. But they hooked them up with the scout that offered them, pretty high dollar amount as a 14-year-old. And basically he has to live in the DR for residency for a year, and then he can sign as a 16-year-old. So, that's an outlier case, but basically labor in the DR is a lot cheaper than it is signing a Division I college kid too. So you got to look at it from that aspect. If you're just trying to fill out minor league roster spots, it's a lot cheaper to get him as a 16-year-old too and develop in a way that you want.
Hopefully these contracts aren't taking advantage of these guys. Like I remember the Tatis contract or whatever, where his agent or agency gets basically 40% of whatever he makes for the rest of his life, which is ridiculous. Yeah.
Great investment on their part.
About it's baseball oriented, but it really has to do with the school. Universities, colleges are getting very high priced now. Are you finding difficulty talking to some families, talking to kids, knowing the financial commitment, even if you could have, give a half scholarship or whatever? Are you having any difficulty giving the high rise in school?
We haven't particularly lost kids just because of expense. Millersville's not the most expensive school, but I know it's become a challenge for a lot of guys that we recruit against or we recruit with. Mm-hmm. I was with a guy last night that his school cost $75,000 as a Division III. I personally will tell families that I think that the education they're getting, not just in the classroom, but in our program, is probably going to be worth the investment at the end of the day. But you're still talking under $30,000 for an education at Millersville, whereas a lot of these schools, again, are $75,000. That's a hard sell for anything that, There's very few families that aren't going into debt.
Scholarship.
Right. There's very few families that aren't going into debt for $75,000 a year. And I'm not sure what employers are paying enough to pay off that debt inside of 30 years. So taking on a mortgage is a tough thing. And it's something I'm looking at I got a 15-year-old right now. And he's doing great academically. But you start looking at what are the opportunities that these guys have. From employment aspect, it's a tough pill to swallow, and it's harder to justify that a liberal arts education is exactly what an 18-year-old needs.
Yeah, because I don't think taking the the history of Mesopotamia is going to be very beneficial to somebody down the road.
Pop culture, pop music, and the art history courses that you can Google anything about Cezanne that you want to
what do I need to? What do I need to know a logarithm for? I want to go I want to go flush my toilet.
I hope our school president doesn't listen to this, but I'm going to throw this out there that I think the institutions of higher education that get in front of it, that are willing to take risks and listen to the consumer, are going to be the ones who weather the storm. But in Pennsylvania, the 2009 birthdays. So these kids are going to graduate in the next 3 years. There's 25% less kids graduating because of the recession that happened in 08, 09. So there's going to be 25% less kids in the population that are going to go to school in Pennsylvania or have the opportunity to go to college in Pennsylvania. And it's going to ruin a lot of schools that don't get ahead of it. So I'd hope that we're progressive in our degree offerings, and we make some changes with our class offerings and our curriculum. And I think there is a way, our tech programs are doing great. Our science programs are doing great. Our math programs are doing great. Our business program, we've got an entrepreneurship program that's taken off. Those are the things that I think can be helpful to kids, but there are certain majors that probably need to go. There's definitely some classes that need to go as well. And again, listen to the consumer. Like, what do the people need? What do the kids need? What are they willing to spend on? And then you're going to, it's just like any other business.
No. And sorry to bring in that, and we don't do politics on this podcast whatsoever, but it's something I'm thinking about, it's from a college coach, and
it's a challenge.
Bringing in kids to play in your program. I mean, but they got to pay. Some of them got to pay, and
you're bringing in a 17, 18-year-old kid to make a commitment to pay that much money that doesn't know what he's going to do for the rest of his life. That might change his major junior year.
For sure.
Like it's. I mean, that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, and then. Yeah.
The only thing I can guarantee you is all of our kids are going to leave with leadership skills. All of our kids are going to leave with communication skills. All of our kids are going to leave with, understanding servant leadership. And I think those are, discipline, structure, building habits. So those are things that college athletes get in the right program. And those, that's something I'd be willing to pay for as a dad outside of the music class that my kid would have to take as well. But knowing that my kid's going to be a little more successful as a result of those things, it's going to at least make me sleep at night.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Well said. Well said.
For sure.
If you could change one rule in baseball, what would you change? And that goes to all of us.
You know what I hate? The new rule in college baseball came in during COVID. I guess it's not that new, that we can only go to the foul line to argue plays as a head coach.
What?
Yeah, we are only allowed to go to the foul line or the outside of the circle, or it's an automatic ejection. So I've literally come out of the dugout to argue a call with the first base umpire because we have stupid 2-man crews. And you'll walk out and they will just look at you and turn around and go the other direction and not even have answer a question for you. So that pisses me off more than anything.
Holy shit. I didn't know this at all.
Yeah,
Wow.
Brutal. It's a brutal, I think it shows up the coach more than anything. But
yeah. I mean, less accountability on them. Like, you need to give an answer for what just happened.
And there isn't any accountability at our level to begin with. So you can get dumps for anything, and there's nobody there to back your play. There's no appeal process, especially for our kids. We had a kid ejected 2 years ago in the PSAC tournament. Basically, the kid came in, was one of those slide, dive, kind of got in between, plays at the plate, and hit our catcher. And our catcher kind of ties him up, like puts his arm around, dumps him. And from one angle, it looks like it was like a
tackle.
Hey, sorry, man. The other angle, it looked like he was a freaking linebacker taking him down. So they dump this kid, and he gets an automatic 1-game suspension. You go back and watch a video. The kid that slid into him was like, "Hey, sorry, man," and the catcher was like, "Hey, sorry, man." Like, nothing egregious happened. There was no trash talk post play. They eject both kids, and it was a semifinal game. So, we end up winning the game, and our kid has to sit the next game. But if there's an appeal process, we can go back and look at the video. There's no issues there. So there is no accountability for umpiring. There really isn't at our level.
I mean, we saw that with Aaron Boone yesterday. I mean, that was ridiculous yesterday.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, again, you got to protect these guys, and there's some crazy coaches out there, and people do dumb things on our end of it too. But at the same time, this is my life, whereas it's a part-time gig for those guys. I mean, I do this 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and they show up at the ballpark on Friday and umpire. And most of them take it seriously, but at the same time, it's not their life. So
yeah.
Mine would be, and I know there's been a bunch of rule changes recently, so if this has already been enacted this season and I don't know about it, I apologize in advance. But I'm going to call it interference, where the guy would, guy's stealing first, second, and the second baseman puts the knee down in front of the bag. You can't get to the bag. I think that would be the rule. I would be like, you got to get that. That's got to go.
Catchers blocking plates, everything's obstruction now. We're just trying to protect the player.
Yeah. Because I mean, I remember sliding into bags, and you slide into a guy's leg. You can't even get to the base because he's getting the ball, but his full leg is in front of the base. Like, how the hell is that? How's that legal?
Yeah, it's obstruction's definitely. You have to give a lane to the plate and every bag now. So I also hate the 45-foot line. If you want to keep talking bad rules, that's the worst rule in baseball too. That you have to run outside the line, halfway down the line. But then how many times?
I thought they were changing. Didn't they just change this? Maybe in the MLB.
I think they widened it.
Okay.
I think. Don't quote me on this one. There's so many changes now. It's like the NFL. Every year there's different.
Right. So in the 1880s, the bag was outside the line, but they never moved the runner's lane with it.
That's one that always bothered me too, because there's no what are you supposed to do as a runner? I mean, no matter what, you're wrong
on the last step, right?
Yeah.
So you're playing peggies down the first baseline, and from anywhere on the field, like you field a bunt on the third base side of the mound, and you throw it and it hits the runner, and he happens to be a foot inside the line. You made a horrible throw, and you're the one that and the runner gets penalized for it. Brutal.
Or it could be A-Rod and just start slapping balls out of people's hands.
Well, our guy McCormick tried to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say we have an alumni that just tried to do that on a major league level.
We'll try to get him on the show. You can ask him about it. So.
That's got to be so just instinctual though. Like you're playing backyard baseball and you're just fucking around. They had to just.
Chaz, he's one of the most competitive dudes ever. He's just a super competitor, and probably look back on it. Yeah, that was a stupid thing, but man, I was just trying to win. I mean, that's in the
That'd be my justification. I'm just trying to win, dude.
Yeah. So,
all right, I got a question. What's your biggest coaching blooper moment that you can think of that you look back and laugh on?
Biggest coaching blooper. There's a lot of them, Brooks. Man, I'll tell you what. My first year, I was the worst staff manager. I handled.
All right, a little backstory. How old were you when you started coaching? Because everyone's probably looking at you like he's been coaching for 17 years. How old is this?
So I'm almost 42, but I started at 25. And
so think about that. The seniors on the team were almost the same age as him.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely. So I'd leave the house like looking like a complete nerd, and my wife would be like, "What are you wearing?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to separate myself. Like I gotta look like an old guy here, But now I'm doing everything I can to stay young. So, but no, I was a terrible staff manager. We had Eric Suplee was our assistant. He was at Wake for a while. He's now he's at Columbia for a while. Now he's at San Francisco. So. Fantastic pitching coach, but he was one of our assistants, and then Patrick Swift was our other guy. And Patrick spent time in the ACC, actually in softball, as an assistant coach. So those guys have had pretty good coaching careers, but both of them quit the day after the season was over. And like we got done with practice, our last practice of the season, going to the conference tournament, and they literally walked away from our park, and I didn't talk to them the rest of the year. Like didn't talk to them during the games, conference tournament. And then, didn't talk to him the rest of the summer. But I was a horrible, horrible staff manager. No feedback. Didn't listen to people. Thought I knew it all. Didn't trust our guy. I mean, it was more than just a blooper, like a lineup thing. I just sucked at it, and I think it. Make an excuse for 25, but at the same time, you're still the head coach. You gotta man up and handle
your job.
Business. So, but I'm actually like. Really, really good friends with both those guys now. So I appreciate the fact they forgave me. We did some dumb stuff back in the day. That was right before Brooks got there. So a lot of his teammates obviously were on that team. And we started out with 34 guys that year. And I'll never forget, we had a kid smoking weed in a car with a recruit. And the recruit didn't come to Millersville as a result of this. And man, like it's stuff that you can't do now, but man, I just remember Coach Swift running guys, late at night on our field, and just, you want to smoke dope, man? You want to smoke dope? And run again, another sprint. Like it went on and on. But we started that year with 34 kids and finished with 19. And we had 19 dudes that wanted to be there, that's for sure. But our staff did not. Those guys quit. Wild times, man. Just 17 years ago, but great group of guys, though, super competitive.
Who's your favorite MLB manager all time?
Bobby Cox.
Dope. Yeah, I'm going Buck. I'm the Buck truck guy.
All right.
I love
Why?
Buck, man.
What do you love about Buck?
Just old school. I'm 38, so I'm like that mix, and we're roughly the same age. Yeah, I'm a mix of like old school and new school. Even though I don't understand technology, I still hate it. But I know what a rotary dial phone is. Buck truck, the Buck man, he always reminded me of old school manager. And he looked the part. He wore cowboy boots. He would come out when he'd take the ball player or we'd take the pitcher out. He'd give the gun sign to the pen. Yeah, just everything about him.
Man.
He had moxie. There's one word for Buck. He was moxie.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby's very similar. Just old school dude. Wasn't afraid to get into it with umpires. Fought for his guys. My favorite Bobby Cox story was when he was still GM of the Braves. A lot of people don't know they were down to two guys to pick, and I think it was 87, 88. Anyway, it was a late 80s draft, and it was Chipper Jones and Todd Van Poppel. Van Poppel was at USC. He was one of the best pitchers in the country in college baseball. And then obviously Chipper Jones is shortstop from Florida. And so they fly. Him and Paul Snyder is the guy that signed Andrew Jones. Paul's a famous scout in the Braves organization. They fly out to see Van Poppel. He throws a great game, and then they fly down to see Chipper Jones. And Chipper Jones' first at bat, he gets hit with a pitch and charges the mound and hits the pitcher, breaks his hand, and they end up picking Chipper Jones first pick overall. So Like that's one of my favorite stories. Like that just tells you a lot about Bobby Cox and how competitive and what he wanted in his players. Like he just wanted a bunch of dudes that just competed their butts off, and you know, that's what he got for 13 or 14 straight years with the Braves there. So
it's always one of my favorite trivia questions to people. And obviously we're going to know this because we're baseball nerds. But what's Chipper Jones' first name? And most people have no flipping clue what the hell it is.
Larry Wayne Jones, baby. Yeah.
The Chipper Jones, is it Freddie Freeman and Chipper, that bobblehead where like Chipper had to like rescue Freddie Freeman, and it's like he's on an ATV or something. Oh yeah.
Chipper's a big time hunter, man. He's got, obviously he's got his own hunting show, but yeah, he's got his ATV. I mean, it saved him in a traffic accident. I forget what it was, but
it's like rescuing from his house or something. It's so good. It's them like hugging each other on an ATV.
Total redneck.
We basically had like the Bobby Cox Atlanta Braves manual as our like fall manual as you come into school. Yeah. Like down to like no facial hair and everything, which I think he's gotten a little lax on.
The mustache is there now, but I mean, I still make guys shave, but yeah, I mean, it's like we're all going to wear our pants the same way. I'm not a big fan of hanging batting gloves and the stupid sliding mitts outside their pockets, and don't wear the sunglasses over our logo on our hat. And, it's all about creating pride in our uniform and taking care of it. Mm-hmm. And another one, like I hate to see our jerseys when we go in the clubhouse, our jerseys lying on the floor. Like, be respectful.
Yeah, that's something that bothers me a little bit.
I was always a big hat guy. When I coached coached the high school kids, for those 9 or 10 years, whatever the hell it was. These kids that do that shit. And no.
Wear it the right way. We take our hats off in the dining hall still. Guys know who the baseball players are when they go in the dining hall and they take their hat off. And that's just, it's old school, but it's respectful.
No. Favorite ball player to watch currently?
I mean, I watch almost every at bat from McCormick and almost every pitch thrown by Mesa just because they're our guys. So I guess that.
Yeah. All right. Let me take your guys.
Okay. Oh man, I love to watch Yordan Alvarez. Yordan Alvarez can rake. He's got a nice balance between power and average and back control, and hits righties and lefties well. He's a special.
I wouldn't want to see him in an alley. I'll tell you that much.
He's a monster. He's kind of a big teddy bear, though. Talking to Chaz, like he's a good dude, good teammate. Off the field, just a really classy guy. But man, he's special at the plate.
I'm going Julio Rodriguez. Brooksy, who you got?
I mean, I would go with a pitcher, but pitching's boring. I just love watching Trout, man. Like everything he does on the baseball field is fun to watch. Like he just does everything. He just reminds you like the old Ken Griffey Jr. right-handed version of him.
We're unfortunately having to deal with him getting hurt all the time. It's bad for the game. I mean, that guy's just he's a talent. It is. Well, it's kind of Mickey Mantle-ish, right? I mean, battling injuries and still putting up massive numbers when he gets in the lineup, and so
he's leading the league in home runs right now.
He's got 8 home runs and 11 RBIs. That's a shame. That's Travis.
We haven't seen him play in a playoff game yet.
He's played in 3, and he went over and all. But he's in. And we were talking about it last night because obviously the Orioles are playing the Angels right now, and I'm sitting there talking to a couple guys. He is in baseball purgatory. He needs. I wish the Angels would do him right and just get him the hell out of there. And maybe he doesn't want to leave.
Right.
He's an East Coast guy. He's from Jersey. He's a big Eagles fan. Not saying send him to Philly, but just get him somewhere where he can shine because he needs to shine. I think he's 33 now. And seeing him play 3 playoff games would be a shame.
Time's running out. Time is definitely running out. I mean, Bonds kind of went through that where he had a couple playoff games early with the Pirates and struggled, and then obviously with the Giants, he had one of the greatest World Series ever against the Angels. But it took some time, and he had to make a move. I mean, Pittsburgh went down the toilet after the '92 season, and they haven't really gotten back since. So, it'd be a shame if he does spend his whole career there.
I think Bonds wanted to get out of Pittsburgh too because he hated Jim Leland. But
Jim Leland was probably good for him at the end of the day.
Jim Leland would have been my second pick for favorite manager.
Just banging heaters in the dugout, and
We were in spring training for a buddy's bachelor party, and they have like those silhouette shirts. It's like a face. It's got like a big afro for like Murray or something. And the Orioles were playing the Tigers in this spring training game, and somebody had that like a silhouette shirt, but it was Jim Leland, and it just had a smoke. It had a heat.
That's awesome.
Like, oh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
Tell me where you got that shirt.
Oh, growing up, I was a huge Pirate fan. So like, there's a X Twitter page. It's like the 86 through 92 Pirates, and I've been following it. And it's like Jeff King and Jay Bell and Andy Van Slyke, Bonilla, hitting homers from both sides of the plate, and it's awesome. But it takes me right back to my childhood, Three Rivers. So.
Hey, man, a couple other players that are great to watch right now. These young guys, O'Neal Cruz. Oh my goodness! And then what's the There's one with the Pirates and there's one with the Reds. I'm blanking on the names.
There's an arm from the Pirates.
Ellie De La Cruz.
Ellie De La Cruz, yeah. Jesus.
So, yeah, I'm trying to see.
Skeens is ridiculous.
Skeens is pitching here in Indianapolis, so I'm trying to see him because I got to see him soon because he's probably gonna get called up here in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
Yeah. Great mustache too. Phenomenal mustache.
There's a second-round pick in 2020 for the Pirates, Jared Jones. Yeah. Pitching Ninja had him on. There's a couple of videos of him just throwing nasty stuff. Like he's leading the league in a couple categories right now, and he's kind of unknown.
Not to me. He throws 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
What level is he right now?
Big leaguer.
He's in the bigs. He started against the O's when we played him.
Yep.
Oh, all right.
He was their opening day starter, I believe.
Yeah, he's nasty, and he's kind of a unknown name. He'll probably be the next, Yankee that's killing it, or Tampa Bay Ray that the Pirates dumped to, take a veteran that's been around for 18 years. But
so you're a big Pirates fan. You're a big Pirates fan.
I embarrassingly grew up a Pirate fan. I wouldn't call myself a fan the last 10 years. I've been sick and tired of the hey, we got a nice ballpark, we're making money, and we're not going to care about the team or the city. So that's really how I feel about it.
Would you eat the Renegade sandwich?
What's a Renegade sandwich?
Look it up.
Would I eat a Renegade sandwich?
It is the new sandwich of the Pittsburgh Pirates. It is got all kinds of crazy stuff on it, but one of the ingredients is pierogies on the sandwich.
Oh, I would not. I wouldn't think twice. I love eating pierogies. So the Renegade sandwich.
Look at this thing.
Oh my gosh. That's unbelievable.
What are the ingredients? You got it pulled up there, it looks like.
So can you handle the Renegade dog at PNC Park?
So it's a hot dog.
It looks like it is a hot dog. What are the ingredients?
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
That's a great question.
It looks like it's got there's fries. There's hot dog. It looks like fries, pickles, and pierogies. But it doesn't give me an ingredient. That's insane. It's a foot-long hot dog with like 6 pierogies and a bunch of pickles on top, and it looks like French fries as well. So, sounds kind of good.
You gotta do it at least once.
Yeah, you gotta give it a shot.
Why not? Head out and get me one at PNC. Great ballpark. I think they could win again.
I love that ballpark.
Yeah,
I think they're up and coming. I think in the next 2-3 years they're going to be there. We were talking about
it was like the Orioles, man. They're stuck in their purgatory because of their fucking ownership. I mean, luckily we just finally got out of that. So hopefully we're on the up and up. But they're in the same thing that the Orioles were in.
From a player development aspect, though, like Baltimore is in a whole different place than Pittsburgh. I mean, I think they may have changed, but Paul Skeens being in that organization, I mean, there's been players that literally don't want to play in that organization because they do such a poor job with player development. So, not that Paul needs a whole lot; he just needs an opportunity to get to the big leagues. But who knows what they're going to do contractually with him? It'll probably come down to whether they're competing or not. And if they are competing, they got a shot. They're going to bring them up, and if they're not,
Yeah, and that didn't change until we brought in Elias from the Astros.
Right.
So before that, we were known as the worst, like one of the worst player developments systems in the league. So
the Pirates. I mean, I've watched a couple of their games. Once again, I'm a junkie, but they remind me a lot of the Orioles from 2 years ago. They remind me of the Kansas City Royals of this year, who I think are a scary team. And we talked about that yesterday, Brooks. I think they're up and coming, and I like their squad.
The Royals GM, I was the last player he signed as a scout with the Braves. So JJ's a good dude. He's been I think he took over for Dayton. I'm pretty sure he's still there. I haven't looked at it, honestly, in a year or so. But Dayton Moore was there, won the World Series with them. He was a Braves guy. So they kind of have a lot of Braves leftovers from that early 2000s group. They're all kind of getting older now. And then JJ's kids play at St. Joe's, which is Division I, somewhat local school to us here. So two kids there. So, but I'm always kind of pulling for him and hoping he does well.
How many games do you guys have in a season?
We play 50 regular season, and we're 42 games in right now. We got eight more to go.
Okay.
So.
And then what? The conference tournament or?
Double elimination conference tournament. Actually, first round is single elimination now. If you make it out of the first round, it's double, and then regional and super regional. So,
where do they play? Do they play your conference tournament the same place every year?
It's at Slippery Rock next year. We just had lights installed, so we're actually the host for 2025. So it'll be nice.
So. Yeah, we'll probably let you go there. I got one more question just to kind of end it. What is your favorite story from your coaching career? Since I know this one could probably get pretty long. So.
Oh boy.
Favorite story.
Just
non-nudity.
Oh man, I could probably write a book about our program from 98 to 2011, and it'd be the tale between two College World Series. But the guy that I played for had 9 major violations and a slew of minor violations. So, and there's a lot of stories that go into that one. Man. All right. So 2007, we're 9-37. We're going in, and I'm not the head coach this year. I'm the assistant. So this is my second season as an assistant. And actually, it's funny. My son's high school head coach is actually the guy that hired me, and he was the head coach here. He was the guy after the guy. So he took over the probation, the program. We were on probation from the guy that I played for. And I just got out of the minor leagues. So, we're pretty green. And we get to the dining hall on a Friday morning. Saturday's senior day. So the way it works in our league is we'll play doubleheader Friday at an opposing place, and then they'll come to us the next day. So we're going to eat breakfast at the dining hall before we go. And I think we're at Kutztown, which is only an hour up the road. So we show up to the dining hall. We pull out the school newspaper, still had them back then. And in the police reports, one of our pitchers got arrested on the pitcher's mound. So, this is news to us. The kid didn't tell us anything. He happens to be a senior. So, Jeff kicks this kid off the team the day before senior day.
Jesus.
Wise? I don't know. I mean, you could go back and argue whether it was wise or not, but it wasn't the first time the kid got into trouble this year. So I'll say that. But the thing that happened next was crazy. So the next day, we have this hill in right field. The next day we show up to take batting practice. And another kid that he had kicked off the team was sitting with that kid on top of the hill, and they had painted the kid's number like 20 feet wide. Like, it was enormous on the right field hill. So we had to sit there and wear it from those two kids the entire doubleheader on senior day. It was the first couple years are interesting. Like I said, the next year going from 34 guys to 19 was tough too. But we're still good friends. Like that kid. He got kicked off. It wasn't like, he's actually at a game a couple of weeks ago. So, just a dumb college move. But I got arrested on the pitcher's mound. Got kicked off the team the day before senior day.
What are you doing on the pitcher's mound?
That's a great question. I would love to know. But
okay.
We've got cameras now at our ballpark that are actually for player development, but you can turn them on anytime. I've seen kids out there doing stupid stuff quite a bit.
Oh, so, sure.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Thank
There's
God
a
they
lot
weren't
of
there.
stories, though, man. There's a lot of stories.
There's a lot of stories without throwing anybody under the bus.
For
Yeah.
sure. Most of it is not all in the field.
We'll keep this podcast PC as hell because I'm sure we got stories for days to go along with these. But
you could probably ask Brooks a lot of those stories, and he'd be able to tell him about his teammates. So,
nah.
Derek Klein, you should have him on a podcast, dude. Derek Klein has a whole chapter in that book I'm going to write. So.
Oh yeah, we will. Derek Klein has an interesting life.
That's
interesting.
I met him at your wedding. Yeah, I remember him. Holy smokerinis, that guy.
Klein set a record for hits at Millersville, but then also got drafted as a pitcher. So he's kind of like this Paul Bunyan figure that like pulls street signs out of the ground like this, that kind of guy. But freak strength, super talented, and just as crazy off the field. So, but I really hope our president listens.
I really appreciate you joining us, John. And hopefully we can do it again. Good luck with the rest of your season. Good luck in your conference tournament, and hopefully it moves forward post-conference tournament. So, I didn't want to talk any smack about Brooks, because I know that could probably go on for about 4 days. So,
Brooks was special, man. He had a crazy consecutive scoreless streak going innings-wise, and then obviously All-American and helped our team get to the College World Series, started game 1. So he had it. You can bust his balls all you want, but he actually had a pretty doggone good career. So,
well, my girlfriend and I go out and see Brooks and his wife and their lovely child for my birthday every year. And the one time we go out there, he goes, "What do you want to do for birthday?" I go, "I just want to play catch, man."
You could still get that thing going, Brooks, or
not really. I mean, you saw a couple. Well, I should say. I mean, we shut out your team 2 years ago in the alumni game.
You guys came out, the savvy old guys, and shut us down.
I got one scoreless inning in there.
Yeah, they can still do it.
I can do it for 1 inning.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Buddy.
You got it.
Good luck, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
See you guys later. See you, Brooks. I'll talk to you later this week, man. See you, Bob.